I welcome you to DATA100 LAB 1. And this week we have no quiz and we are going to discuss only about our worksheet. This would include your lecture content, some additional things, and also it will touch some base R, which would help us to get started with our language. So quickly go over what we are going to discuss in this week's our worksheet. So first of all, what you need to do is you need a permanent position for your data and your R worksheet and then quizzes, because it will help you to actually refer back and forth. So basically, whenever you need it for a quiz, you can quickly get it and grab it. Motive of this particular R worksheet is to introduce some basic R commands and then familiarize you with ggplot package, which we are going to use a lot for plotting. Markdown file, there are two types of sections. One is a white area, which you currently see, where we write down the text, and other is a gray area, which we call code chunks. So everything written inside the code chunk would be executable, and it will display us the output. So we could display the output inline just after the code chunk, or we can display that in the console also, so that can be done. But here it is inline output, which I'm going to use. So to run every code chunk, you can click a play button, or you can press Ctrl Shift Enter, and it will run whole of the code chunk and display you the output just beneath it. Then whenever you create a code chunk, there are like you have to go to, either you go to insert section and select R, or you can always press Ctrl Alt I, or if you are using Mac, you can press Ctrl Option I. So this way you can actually create a code chunk here anywhere you want. For exercises, you need to insert code chunks. Another thing is, whenever we write some comment inside the code chunk, we start that with a hash. So whatever is after the hash would be a comment in R. Please, as you progress through this file, keep on saving the content so that it is there. And if you have any difficulties with the examples and the exercises, you can reach me out at ssahara@wlu.ca. The first part is defining variables. So as I have already discussed with you, that for each and every language, variables are very important because they are the containers for the information. This particular statement would give a list of elements of vector. We call this all vector, which is created by C function, and we name it. So this is what we have already discussed, that this is an assignment operator. So this value has been assigned to this variable, and whenever we now refer this variable name, it would be actually referring to the vector of elements here. Let's do one example here. So here, this is how you can run your code chunk. It will show you the output, and here what we have done is we have assigned number 2 to X variable. So whenever I now run this, it will show me the individual value. So X is now holding the value or pointing toward the value of 2, and similarly I have Y, so which is pointing toward or holding the value for a vector, which is 1 2 3 4, and concatenation is performed by the C function, so whichever is passed inside this. Okay, so now moving toward exercise 1. So how you will be solving this exercise? Here you would look at, if you want to write a code, you have to insert a code chunk. What I need to do is to define a variable P and variable Q. Now we have defined it. Let's run this, and you'll see P is carrying -4 and Q is carrying 2 4 6 8. And note that here the step size here is 2, but it is already given list. So sometime we want to give the start and end of the list to create it automatically and give the step size. For that, we have a function called sequence. So we give the starting value and the ending value and the increment size. This is also very useful sometime for us when we want to create a longer or bigger vector. So here is an example how to do that. So here we want to create a list from -99 to 99, and we want to increment that by 2. So we can see that with sequence we can create that. So let's quickly run this, and you will see here it starts from -99, goes till 99, and the step size is 2 here. So similarly, now here is the decreasing step size which is being followed. This is just a basic introduction about the vectors, but we are going to discuss it in much detail. Moving toward basic operations, so as we have discussed already that there are variables. Now variables carry the values, and we can perform operations onto variables rather than direct values. So let's run this example where we want to operate onto variables and perform certain operations. So something I want to see that what is the value of x plus p. X is holding some value and p holding some value. So what would be the impact of the addition operation, then exponential, then subtraction, then multiplication, then we have square root. This example is just focusing on basic operations. So you can see x plus p is -2, and then x exponential p exponential x would give us 16. Similarly, we keep on running, and we see that what values are coming here. So this is how you will actually print the output. This is called inline output format. Now next is importing data. This we are going to use a lot because we are going to work on different type of data sets, and Tidyverse has beautiful packages which actually load the data from various formats. So here we are going to use a basic package, but before that we need to load library Tidyverse. So once it is loaded, this will display a message like this, and it means that it is good. So you are good. So there are conflicts which can be handled, but you are all good and your Tidyverse is loaded into R. So once it is loaded, we can start using its functions. So first function that we are going to use is read underscore CSV to read CSV files. And this is external data which we want to load into R. So reads underscore CSV is one that is used. So this is the file name .csv which we want to upload. There's another method which normally data scientists use. So we have a file which is placed onto some repository or to some cloud. So we want to directly copy the URL and just load it into our session provided by Tidyverse. So I would like to show you one example. So this example is trying to load the data directly from a GitHub repository. And what I did is I assigned this to a URL, and then I passed this URL into read CSV, run it. Our variable GPS has been assigned with dataset. If you want to see what is in represented by GPS, you can see this. It will show you the first 10 records of the dataset. So if you want to see the complete data, then you use the view function. So it will show you the complete data set which is basically we have downloaded. So the next is an exercise for you which you are expected to you have to load the data from URL and then look at data set. Whenever there is an exercise there, you need to insert the code chunk. Next are few functions. So functions are already given and defined, and we are just going to pass in the information. So here you can see what I'm going to do is I'm going to use string, and I'm going to pass the data set name. So here the data set name is GPS. If I want to pass the GPS, it will show me the structure of the information, the names and the type of the columns in that particular data set. There is a length function which returns me the length of a vector or a variable. Then we have dimension. Here we pass the data set. Now the single variable, we pass the data set. Dimension would return me number of rows and the columns. Then we have a class if you want to know about what is the type of the data variable, whether it is numeric, it is boolean, it's a string type, or it's a data frame. Okay, so similarly we have names. Max would return you the largest value, min would return you the minimum value, mean would return you the average value, median would return you the middle value, and sum would return you the sum of all variables. And then we have a very important function called summary. This will return you the statistics. the 5-point summary of your data set. Now here is an example. So we try to apply some above commands onto GPS data set. So let's do it one by one. So here you can see string. It will show you the structure of your data set. So what are the columns, what are their types, and how many features are there, and some of the the values of the data. And then it is this under is giving you the type of the information, what type of information that each and every column is storing. So this is called a table when we are using a tidy words package. So here is if I want to look at the class of rating, so you can see the rating variable, so rating column of GPS. So this is how I can access a particular column from a data set. So GPS dollar rating would give me, if I write it here, so you can see it would return me a vector, so that particular column from GPS data set. So what we are doing is we are passing GPS rating, this whole data set, to the class, and we want to see what is the type of this variable. So now max, we want to find out the max price. So what I do is data set dollar price and then gives a value. Then I want to look at the summary, so it will return me the 5-point summary of that data set, including any values. We will come back to this later on. So here is a minimum value, first quartile, then median, mean, third quartile, and the max value in this data set. And if I do the summary and passing just the whole data set name, then it will show me the summary for each and every column. So there are different types of columns which we will discuss slowly. Then there is an exercise which you have to apply onto Netflix dataset, which you will be downloading, and you have to write the code. Please enter a code Archon. Then we have finding data. So when we have a whole data set, you want to find out some specific number of rows and the columns. So what we are doing is we have a data set name, for example GPS, and I want to access a row A and column B. So here I'm giving the number A and B, and I want to access that particular row and column. If I give a row and column to that, it will return me some single value. So if I have skipped basically row, then it will show all rows but only B column. So all rows and B column. So here is if I want to filter out and access particular values from like first 10 records from a data set and its variable column name, then it could be I want to see only first 10, so first to 10, then it will give me the value from entry A to B. So here you can see within this bracket, this is basically a logical operation which we are performing. So any value which is greater than X from that particular variable, it would be returned back. So any value which is equal to this value X would be returned by this particular string of our code. And the length would give me the length of this variable, but what values are selected. So this is which are all those values from this which are equal to X. So once this is done, set variable underscore name, and we want to find out some variable values within X and Y, which function is also very important because it returns us the index. So wherever it finds this value true, so let's do some examples quickly. I want to see the 100th record from GPS data set. So what I want is I want all columns but the 100th record, so 100th row. So I just kept my column name and it will return me all those values here. So all columns but single row. If I want to see specific value A and B, so I pass in this A and this as B, then it will show me one particular value which is 216 and under the views column. So here let's see which function, what it returns. So I'm trying to find out the index where the rating is 4.9. So it will return me all those indexes which are basically having a rating is equal to 4.9. So this is how you will be using which function, and it will be very useful for you. So next is exercise, do it yourself. Then we have data visualization and the ggplot, and it has Two components mainly, but we can overlay many functions. So it starts with ggplot. Uh, it is already loaded when you load tidyverse into your current R session. So ggplot, and the first thing we need to pass in the dataset name. So what is the dataset name here? For example, it is GPS, and then there are many genome functions which we can perform. So genome function could be your genome bar, genome histogram, genome line, plot, box plots, and there are many others. So this is not a comprehensive list, but there could be many other genome functions that you can apply. Once this is data is set, we are clear what plot we are going to create. So this function means the type of the plot. Then we have to pass in the axis and the data set. So here is the mapping that is passed through statics. And here is x variable and the y variables we are talking about. It means we are talking about 2D plots which are to be created. So some are single variable plots, some are two variable, some are multi-variable plots. So we will slowly work on that. So we have some important and most commonly used genome function, a genome var, which takes only one variable. Then we have histogram. Smooth is which fits a curve, and then we have genome lines. So create a line points, it will create individual points, and the box plot. So let's try one example. So I want to create a bar chart of ratings of apps. So what I did is I write down, so here's a bar chart how the rating is given for Android application. Is another plot which is called scatter plot. I want x to be rating and y variable to be reviews variable from GPS dataset. So I give the dataset, and then the function is genome plot, and then I pass the aesthetics, and I run this, and it will create a scatter plot. And then we talk about box plot. We actually split it by contents rating. So contents rating are many unrated, teen, and mature. So this has been split by contents rating. So this is y dimension, this is x dimension, and this is showing the distribution of data. Here is an exercise for you guys to do. You will look at the plots, how you will be creating, and then you can also add other attributes to the genome function, such as color, size, and shape. You can change. You are giving basically the third dimension to your plot. So this way we can try to give color based on the contents rating. We can have a third dimension added to our plot. So this is the color combination is given. So this is the legend which is automatically added for this third dimension which we have added. Rather than using a particular variable for coloring or sizing, we can always give an independent variable for it. And for that we have to take out that particular parameter out of bracket, and then I can give it individually. So here's another exercise where you will be giving a third dimension to your data set. And then in the last we have we want to create two plots together. So this has been given to you as an assignment which you will be working on, and you will be writing code here. So you can refer to your notes to do this exercise. Once you are done with this, please prepare and work on this worksheet, and prepare for next week's 35-minute quiz. So this is all for this week's worksheet.